Good morning.
Good morning.
It's 11:02. Thank you all for being here on time. I think it looks like we're just waiting for a few more people, so we'll maybe just give people another minute.
Good morning. This is Heidi Dudek. We are in training today, so I will stay on to give my update and stay through the environmental part, but we will be logging off after that. Sorry, I'm in a lobby, so.
No, I got it. I thought that was the training in real time in the background. All right, we'll see. Well, yeah. Thank you for being here, and thank you for letting us know.
Similarly, I'm touring a power plant, so I am going to do my part and disappear too.
What power plant are you touring?
Ravenswood in
Okay.
LIC.
Got it. All right. Well, our agenda is pretty, I think, pretty straightforward today. So we might. It looks like most of. Are we waiting for anybody from DC or Langen or AKRF or DEP at this point?
DEC is good.
I think we're good from Langen's standpoint.
Okay. And I think we have most of the electeds represented, and I see. Okay, yeah. So why don't we begin? I just remind you these meetings are recorded for posterity and for posting on nysenate.gov, and I think maybe some of the other elected offices also post, and community board. But this is the November 29th, 2023 meeting of the 250 Waters Group Working Group. Sorry, the 250 Water Street Working Group. I'm State Senator Brian Kavanaugh. This group is co-convened by the offices of Congress member Dan Goldman, Assemblymember Eileen New, our President Mark Levine, and Councilmember Chris Marte and Community Board 1. And our agenda today, we will begin with our usual discussion of any updates in the Brownfield Cleanup Program, and then from the developers and consultants and the DEC and the state DOH. And then we'll hear from the community consultant, Laura Dodge, and then we'll just do Q&A from stakeholders who are present. So if unless there are any other preliminary comments or questions from anybody, the co-conveners or anybody else? Okay, seeing no hands, I think DEC is up first.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. I'm Heidi Dudek. I'm New York State DEC Section Chief for the 250 Water Street Brownfield Cleanup Program. I'm sure everybody pretty much knows who I am and our state PM, Rafi Alam. We also have DOH online. Update is we are nearing that finish line. The crowds are cheering. They're pounding on the side rails, and we're coming in for that last little bit of a sprint. But it looks like if it's not completed by the end of December, it should be in early January. And then the state will be issuing a certificate of completion. So far, all the cleanup objectives have been made on the samples that have been submitted. If a cell has not, they've gone back and they've over excavated it, and we are waiting for the additional information. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mimi because I think she's got good news for everybody.
Thank you, Heidi. Good news indeed. I will wait until our slide deck is pulled up. Great. Okay. I'm Mimi Ray Gordetsky, a principal at Langen Engineering and responsible for this cleanup with my team here, Paul and Mike. Next slide. Great. So phase 2 remediation progress. As Heidi said, we are almost at the finish line. We anticipate completing our work in the month of December, which is fantastic news. This site just shows the site, and you can see on the right-hand side where there's no hatching, it's phase 1 remediation. On the left side is the phase 2 area where the hatching is. The stabilized construction entrance has shifted since our last meeting to a bit further along Pearl Street to a bit more to the kind of northeast, where you see the gray rectangle that crosses over the blue line. So that's just a view of the site and kind of what it looks like in plan view. Next. So for a camp summary, so for the entirety of phase 2 remediation, there were no exceedances of PM10, so that's dust and particulates, VOCs, or mercury vapor resulting from ground intrusive work. That is really great news. As we've said in the past, we continue to place off-site camp stations on Pearl, Beekman, Water, and Peck. And we have and continue to proactively apply Atmos foam and Mercon X to suppress odors and vapors in areas containing potential nuisance odors and adjoining the former mercury hotspot, which has been, that area has been remediated. Next. This is a drawing showing where we are with supportive excavation. Green means that supportive excavation, both shallow and deep, is complete. We've completed the shallow SOE installation around the entirety of the perimeter of the site, and we've completed the deep installation around the large majority of the site. The only area that remains and is in progress is where you see that salmon-colored area at the intersection of Pearl and Beekman. So that is all that remains. And again, we anticipate completing that work. We actually anticipate completing that work, I believe, this week. Next. We have excavated, as part of phase 2 remediation, about 650 truckloads of soil and fill and construction and demolition debris. We did decommission and dispose of 2 underground storage tanks that were identified. You can see one of the tanks in the lower right picture on your screen. Next. We continue to collect endpoint samples when we reach at least 15 feet below grade, or when we believe that we'll be able to collect a sample that meets track 2 remediation criteria. So far from the phase 2 remediation area, we've collected 10 endpoint samples, and those are kind of in the northwestern portion of the figure. All of them have met track 2 cleanup objectives. The ones that have yet to be collected or recollected are in the southern portion of the site, and they're gray. So those are the ones that are pending sample collection. Next. So in addition to remediating soil, there is an obligation to remediate groundwater as well. Groundwater is being remediated. It has been remediated through dewatering and will continue to be remediated through dewatering as the dewatering system is turned on once the supportive excavation is complete. 2 groundwater samples were recently collected during phase 2, and they showed a 99% bulk reduction in petroleum-related contaminants in groundwater. 2 more groundwater samples will be collected during site-wide dewatering, which, as I said, will be effectively turned on as soon as the deep supportive excavation is complete this week. So that will probably be turned on next week. Next. Now, when we look at schedule, again, there's very, very little work to do left to complete site remediation. Between now and December 8th, as I mentioned, we'll be completing the deep SOE installation along Pearl and Beekman. Site-wide dewatering will occur. We will complete the excavation to meet track 2 criteria, and we will collect remaining confirmation endpoint samples, and we will also install a couple of wells to collect a bit more groundwater data. Between December 9th and December 22nd, we will backfill with imported fill and then demobilize from the site. So the goal is to be done before the Christmas and New Year's holidays. And that's it. That's my update. Again, construction hotline, if anybody wants to share any information or observations with us, feel free to call that hotline. It is the fastest, most direct way to get in touch with the construction and remediation team and Howard Hughes. And of course, our website, the link is below.
Thank you, Mimi. So next up, we have ACARE. I think it's Dan Abate Marco.
Dan, I don't know if Dan has any particular update, but he's available to the extent there's any conversation about noise.
Yeah, I was just looking for my unmute, but we've continued the vibration monitoring. There's been no warning or exceedance levels since our last meeting. So that's really all I would have to summarize at this point.
Okay, and DEP, I think, is represented. I think by. I thought I saw a DEP rep on here. Okay. Again, also in the issue of noise, that's DEP's role here. So I guess unless there are any, why don't we, Laura, do you have any updates or comments or questions?
Yeah, Senator, thank you. Good morning, everybody. So we've been doing our review of the daily reports that Lincoln has been posting, and they emailed them to us and let us know that they've been posted, which has been helpful. It makes it a lot more efficient for us. And also had an update from Paul McMahon on where they are as far as the schedule is concerned and the endpoint sample results. So, we're basically happy to see that the project is nearing completion and everything seems to be, generally in order. A few little blips here and there with, air monitoring equipment, but nothing of concern. And as Mimi indicated, no exceedances of any of the action levels, which is great. Odors have been minimized by use of the foam where they've been even detected, which has been infrequent. So I think that's, also great news. So my only question is, at the end of the process, there's a final report that gets issued, and I'm talking to Paul, that'll be done as soon as the endpoint results are in for the last 15 samples. And then my understanding is that stone will be placed down on the site as a final preparatory or final act to cover the soils prior to construction starting. So just may want to provide the community with an update on when that would happen. And other than that, we're, like I said, we'll continue to review the daily reports, as they're generated until it's all done. And, happy to see the, no exceedances and everything going smoothly.
Great. Any updates on those issues on the placement of stone or other issues that?
Oh, the placement of stone. We're certainly going to be following the requirements of the SWIP while we decommission, and all of that will be done before December 22nd. And as Laura said, we essentially have a draft of the final engineering report complete. We are literally just waiting to collect those samples, get the data, and pop them and populate the report. But our goal is very much to get the certificate of completion before the end of the year, which is a scramble for us and a scramble for the state as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Laura, any other questions or comments?
No, that was my only one, and so thank you for the update. We'll be looking forward to seeing the report when it's issued.
Great. Okay, so now we go to community stakeholder discussion Q&A. I see Megan Malvern.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Sorry, my camera's off. Just not in the right place for that. So 2 points that I wanted to talk about is that I have video from various people from various days that work is really, really starting before 7 a.m. I know they're allowed to be on site before, but like drills are there, trucks are being filled. I have video I can share with you, but if you could just reach out to the crews and please ask them not to do any of that kind of disruptive stuff before 7, just because. And then the other thing is I have a question about the state of the site. Are you guys experiencing at 250 a lot of rats? There's been a real big rat problem in the various parks on either side of 250 that hasn't really been seen before. Anyway, and there's little kids at the park, obviously at both of them. Do you have anything that you guys are doing at your site to help maybe mitigate that, or are you experiencing any big rat issues at the site?
I'm gonna defer to
Yeah.
Adam on that one.
Not that I'm aware of. We do have our some representatives for our construction team on the call. But it's something we can certainly, look into to the extent we can be helpful in any solution.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's really, I mean, like, I guess herds of them are kind of going across the park that's right opposite Water Street by the Duane Reade over there, the one that's closer to St. Margaret's, and also the other park. But I know there's lots of little kids and sand in that other one. Anyway, anything that you guys can do or give us some, just give us some feedback on that, that'd be great.
Have you been in touch with the Parks Department? That's DPR.
Yes, actually, Tammy, it was brought to CB1. CB1 brought it to the Parks Department. The Parks Department did bait, and we've seen a couple dead ones here and there. But I just was wondering if there's anything that could be done over there on that side of things. Yeah, it's gross. Thanks.
Good. Okay, thank you. I think Adam was up next.
Hear me?
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Adam Sinofsky, president of the board of Southbridge Towers. I'm glad to see we're getting close to the finish line. I did want to raise the concern that a Saturday construction was granted at one point recently in the last month. And, we talked about this over a year ago, and that was only to make sure we get the work done before the school year started. I don't know why it was granted this time. It's been a real disturbance to our shareholders, who include some of these same kids who go to Peck Slip and are waking up early Saturday morning to construction noise and loud trucks at 7 a.m. on Saturday. So I really want to raise my concern with the electeds. And if you could pass word to the Department of Buildings, I really, Saturday construction should be, from my understanding, exception, not the norm. And I really have no idea why it was granted in this case, because I haven't heard no extraordinary reasons to disturb the residents around there on Saturday. That's pretty much all I had.
Does anybody representing the developer know what's going on there?
Well, we have been doing work on limited Saturdays this fall to move the schedule along in an effort to get the work done before the end of the year. I will say, I think we have at the most probably two Saturdays left, and not the drilling and those types of activities. It'll be more it'll be less intensive work, but I think it's important to get the work done before the holidays, and that's what we're aiming for.
So you're saying you are planning on doing work on 2 of the next 3 Saturdays?
I believe so. John, are you still on the call? It's like we lost a couple of the construction team. That's I believe that's the plan.
I want to just note that Tammy sent a note saying that she's in the waiting room and someone needs to let her in. The virtual waiting room.
Was it
Or
Tammy
did-
or was it
I-
Alice?
I'm not seeing Tammy.
Oh, sorry,
I
Alice.
think, yeah, I am
Alice.
in. Thanks
Oh,
very
good.
much.
Okay,
And
sure.
Tammy is unable to attend. Thanks.
So just so you're working Saturdays, obviously, the implications of not working on Saturdays is that it might slip from the 22nd completion.
Yes.
And it would go over the holidays. And I know it's very important for people to not have work during the holidays as well.
Adam, are there particular activities? I mean, is it just,
I mean,
Is it your
even just
sense of-
the trucks going in and out are waking up our shareholders at 7 a.m. in the
Well,
morning.
the work doesn't, on not Saturdays, the work's not supposed to start until 9.
I think I've gotten emails at like 7:30. I would have to check.
We haven't received any feedback like that through the hotline.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the email saying there's work occurring on Saturday. It's just been very, disturbing where 6 out of 7 days a week, especially we have a large number of people working from home, people are just not getting a break from the noise. And it's, like I said, especially with work from home, and it's just, it does not feel like extraordinary circumstances, in my view. It was one thing when we did it to keep the noise, when we all talked about this a year ago, in order to attempt to get as much work done as possible before the school year started. But at this point, I just don't see why we have to deal with it. And that's just,
Well,
I'd like some of the electeds, they can reach out to the Department of Buildings and, share this criticism on why that was granted, because or DOB or whoever approved that Saturday noise variance, because we are just deeply disturbed to see that it was approved for what does not feel like extraordinary circumstances that benefits the community overall.
yeah, I mean, we obviously can reach out, we can, deal with it from a sort of regulatory perspective. Just, is there any way we can give people a break on the next couple of Saturdays in December?
I mean, I'll go back and talk about it with the team, but I was just, we're very close to the finish line here, and I think, I don't know, I hear
Look,
you,
I
Adam.
think
I hear
people-
I hear the concern, but I think there are also a lot of people in the community that want this phase of work to be done. And then, so it's a trade-off, but I think we'd very much like to wrap this up, and I don't want it to, extend into that week between Christmas and New Year's.
I think everybody wants to wrap it up. I assume, like, we're not, I don't think anybody's suggesting you do this on, Christmas Eve instead, or Christmas Day, but just, is there, if there's any way you can, work around the schedule, so.
And also, like, to be clear though, this isn't done. I mean, we're done with this part, but then there's like the next 5 years of construction. So maybe, I know that there's a push to get this done because we're trying to get, the company's trying to get it done before the end of the year so they can get the abatement or whatever the process is that they're trying to do. But also going forward, next year, when that isn't a thing, can Saturdays just not be allowed? I guess Adam's trying, I know Adam, you're saying Adam Meister, you're saying that we're at the finish line. It's not the finish line for this community. We've got years of construction ahead of us.
Yeah, no, I think I said of this phase, but if I didn't, that's certainly,
Yeah.
yes, there will be work going forward. And I think that's a dialogue we'll have based on the schedule, and we do have a more definitive schedule for future development. But yeah, I don't think it's our intent to it's not our intent to work on Saturdays throughout the construction of this project. And it's been a limited number, and anyway, I appreciate the community's willingness to tolerate it because it does allow the remediation phase where, people have had a very heightened concern get done within, certain timeframes, whether or not it's to avoid the school calendar or holidays and so on. So, we appreciate that.
I mean, and again, so the last time this happened on Saturdays, this group was addressed and it was brought to this group beforehand. This just happened, and all we just found was just in the email updates from Emily, it's now happening. Like, it was discussion. No one was asked about the trade-offs. Would you rather deal with this on Christmas or Saturdays? Like, and so we are very concerned about, as the next 4 or 5 years, that we are going to have to deal with the noise 6 days a week. And again, I know, Adam, you guys have your priorities. I'm looking at the elected officials to please, reach out to the Department of Buildings or whoever makes this decision to express the concern of the community that of the effects of having noise 6 days a week.
Yeah, we will certainly do that and discuss the standards by which they made this decision and discuss it as an issue going forward. I mean, again, for the other Adam, the Adam thing here, but just for Adam Meiser, if you could, I mean, again, at minimum, make sure that both on weekdays before 7 and on Saturdays before 9, that there's nothing going on there that's improper, and minimize disruptive work, especially on Saturdays. Whatever the building department is permitting, I think you're hearing that would be appreciated.
Okay, yes.
And we will talk to the building department about, like, if they have a misunderstanding, if their decision to issue these Saturday permits is based on some misunderstanding of the facts, we'll discuss that with them. All right.
I think there should just be a general discussion. We should just make sure that these 250 Water Street meeting, we'll make sure that they're more regular so that you can come and have this discussion with the community as well. Like, as you're looking to do weekend work, if we can just have some more communication around that, that'd be helpful. But I would want to reemphasize, like, part of the reason that people are so upset is because the work is happening outside of the hours of work that is allowed. So they're hearing the noise early in the morning before 7 on the weekdays, and then before 9 a.m. on Saturdays. So if, making sure that the construction crews aren't starting loud work before then, I think is going to help you a lot too in the next couple of weeks.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Elaine, I think you're up.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question for Heidi. It's the same question that I've been asking all along. Now that you're winding down on the brownfield, the building that extends into Pearl Street, or what are we talking about in terms of going into that area and investigating that area?
Hi, Elaine, this is Heidi. Yes, we have begun our investigation in that area. The project manager is currently in training, so I can't have him give an update on it. I believe that we still have some additional samples that we'll need to collect to complete our investigation once the building is to a point where we can get into the sidewalk area, but that will have to wait. But I believe that they've begun the investigation, and as soon as that's completed, we'll prepare a report.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is that it for me? Because I have to be back in training in 1 minute.
Maybe and for all of us. I see no further. Oh, sorry, Alice, you're up.
Yeah, I had asked you the question, Brian. I'm sorry, I couldn't get into this meeting for some reason or other, but I just wanted to know, was the archaeological report given? I'm sure it was. I'm sorry, but could someone send me that, or where are we at with that?
No, I think actually it has not been given, and Elizabeth Mead from AKRF is on the call and can give a brief update of where things stand.
Great.
Hi, I thought you forgot about me. Yeah, I have a couple of slides I can share. Here we go. So we've been continuing our work on the site. We are also winding down, it looks like. Essentially, we've reached kind of the same consistent, clean, sandy soil all along this Pearl Street side, kind of where it's shaded in pink on the map on the right. So we believe that we're through basically all the cultural material and into natural soils there. We are no longer recommending monitoring in that part of the site. We've mentioned that to Landmarks and they agree. You can see the map on the left from 1873 that more or less lines up with the the part of the site that was not inundated by the river originally. The two lines on the map on the left, the blue lines represent basically a difference between high and low tide. So we are still actively monitoring the Water Street side of the site, the part that was within the river. That's where the landfill materials are. So far for this whole phase of work, we've basically only documented one timber so far. There were a couple more that came out of the dirt this morning that I don't have further information on, and we'll start to pull together. But the one that we did observe in September was near the corner of Water and Beekman, where this purple dot is. I believe the timbers from this morning were in the same general area. So as they continue to excavate through the fill along the Water Street side of the site, we'll continue to monitor, continue to make observations, collect samples, that sort of thing. This is kind of the sad little timber that we've seen so far. You can see it on the left sticking out of the wall. The image on the right is after we pulled it out. We, like we were last year, cut a timber sample for future analysis and just basically documented it where it was. You could see on the left that groundwater was pooling. So it was from about 10 feet deep, and just starting this week, they're really starting to get to that depth again in that part of the site. So we're out there still monitoring, still collecting data. As far as artifacts, with this phase of the work, where there's not as much contamination, there's not as much foam, we have had opportunities to kind of jump into the site, collect some artifacts from the fill, just to get a sense of what kind of materials we're looking at. The image on the left is just some mixed artifacts that we recovered from that Pearl Street side where, like I said, we got down to clean sand and we didn't really observe many archaeological features. The artifacts are what we normally expect for urban fill in an area like this. The ceramics on the left do skew older. They might be potentially 18th, 19th century. But they were found mixed in with these artifacts on the right, which are things like probably plumbing fixture porcelain, so maybe toilet sink. You can see kind of these big, thick pieces of porcelain. We have small, modern-looking floor tiles. So it could be the kind of thing where older materials got mixed together with more recent materials as a result of construction or demolition. One thing of interest, you could see in the image on the right, we did find a small kind of clump of these really pretty cobalt blue bottles. You could see in the inset photo, it had a logo with a little crown, and it's marked with the words aromatic furniture polish. So we were able to trace those to some 1860s advertisements where this product was being sold from one of the Pearl Street buildings. So again, not a great deposit because it's a mixed, disturbed fill, but some interesting things. Like I said, we're now really focusing on the Water Street side where everything should be older, hopefully more intact. And over the next 2 weeks, as this excavation continues, we'll hopefully get a lot more data. If we do get to a point where it's clear that we're beneath the natural sandy river bottom, then that should be it for the archaeology because we'll have gotten through all of the fill, all of the cultural material, and there really won't be much more to see.
Thanks. So if I'm understanding, there were no large artifacts found. And where are these artifacts being housed?
They're at our office in our archaeology lab.
It would be great if going forward, there's some way to work with Jonathan Boulware and the Seaport, the director of the Seaport Museum to, I know we discussed this, to find a way to perhaps have an exhibition or a place where this would be housed. It's kind of interesting material. And then landmarks will come at this next phase of archaeology or not? I wasn't clear on that.
We're in regular touch with them. They have not expressed interest in visiting the site. So they're aware of what we're doing. We're talking to them regularly, but they have not wanted to stop by.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. I really appreciate the update. One other question, Brian, if I can just ask, I guess it would be to Adam Meister or that group. What's next? I don't know. And again, I apologize if this were covered. What is next in terms of timing for post remediation? Did you go over that, or is that not yet established, or can you give us an idea of what's to come? And if you did, I'm simply fine to ask somebody else.
Sure, yeah, we touched on it. And I think, Paul or someone can describe again, or we can follow up after that. We'll be leaving the site in a certain condition until we're ready to move forward with construction. We don't have of the building. We don't have a date for that yet. There'll be a layer of stone gravel, most likely laid down in connection with the criteria for our stormwater prevention permits, as well as the condition needs to be left in from a DEC perspective. So that'll be happening, and then there'll be some ongoing site maintenance. But essentially, that's what the condition of the site will be for an indefinite time period.
And indefinite. And can you legally go forward with construction, assuming you have these regulatory, permits and such provided? Or is there a legal suit? Are you done with all of the sort of pesky problems that you've had in the past?
There's a motion pending with the Court of Appeals. We can, we have our foundation permit where we can continue that work, but there is still some outstanding litigation pending.
Thanks a lot, Adam. Appreciate the update.
And thank you, Alice, for prompting us on the archaeological, and apologies to Elizabeth. I thought your colleague Dan from AKRF was I didn't see you, and I thought he was going to pinch it for you, and I thought there was no update. So we're very glad to have that archaeological update. Elaine, your hand is still up, but I think is that from before?
I'm sorry, I just forgot to take it down.
Okay, great. Okay, good. All right, I see no further hands or comments. So unless there are any closing remarks or reflections here, I think we're ready to adjourn.
But we meet next month,
you.
Brian. Is that established that we meet again?
Yeah, I don't think we have I think we don't have a date set into the, but I will, Morgan, actually, I probably should have introduced the meeting, but Morgan, some of you have met, but is our new chief of staff, who is, managing this process today and perhaps going forward as well. But we'll get back to you about dates. I don't recall if we had set one or not, but is it worth discussing what works in December at this point, or should we just propose a few?
Well, I mean, from an environmental standpoint, I don't think there's really going to be much of an update other than we're done.
Right. See, Nicole and Adam have hands up. Is this about the question of future meetings, or?
No, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Adam.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Emily used to forward us the construction schedule each week. We haven't received it the last few weeks, so I wasn't sure if that's now, is that something Morgan's going to be going forward?
Yeah, I apologize if there's been a gap in that. We will, yeah, we should continue to do that. So.
Thank you.
All right.
And Senator Kavanaugh, if I may, so I live on Water Street and just off Peck Slip between Peck and Dover. The streets that are mostly closed off for school days in front of construction, those are posing very, very, very dangerous. So there's no space for residents to walk clearly or safely because the streets are mostly closed during school days. People are blowing through stop signs when it is open. They're fighting for parking spots well before the barricades are removed. I've seen little children sort of in their path. Is there any way that, I know that we talked about maybe a long-term solution to closing down that Play Street, sort of demapping it permanently, but even during construction, can we do better to close off that street to cars?
We can discuss it. It's a DOT, city DOT conversation, but we can certainly discuss it. I see a couple of people nodding their heads in agreement too. So we'll raise that question with DOT again. I think we had, as you know, some conversations about that in the past, but we'll revisit it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, good.
So have we established we are meeting again? We're not? That's a little unclear. So I think it's always helpful to have some sort of meeting to have, even if it's about completion. Mimi, I don't know, but if you could just clarify that either here or at a future email, just so we know what's next. Thanks.
Yeah, so Alice, you're suggesting it would be worth having one additional meeting, I mean, in January after everything's done, or, I mean, December 22nd is, 23 days from now. Probably we wouldn't meet before the holidays, I would think.
Yeah, or just some sort of an update. I mean, I defer to you all, I don't want to say there has to be a meeting, but I just think we should have some sense of closure to this process.
Yep.
And so however you want to provide that, but I think that, yes, perhaps as we come together and then we kind of understand what's coming next. And, yes, I think there should be one more meeting at the time of, the next, in another month or so.
Okay,
In
well,
the
we
new year.
we will propose that to folks with a couple of dates, and obviously there will be a couple of final, the kind of final reports on this that we mentioned, which we'll also distribute. So, yeah, we'll provide an update and propose the meeting to folks.
Perhaps the construction announcement that you guys put out could mention this, we're planning this to be done on the 22nd. It should be the end of this state. That might be
Right.
a whole point. That's all.
Yep. Okay, good. All right. So I guess that's all for now. Thank you, everybody, for your participation, and enjoy that. If those of you I won't see before, enjoy the holidays.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Care of it.
Holiday.